are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 254 of the College Loop Podcast. I am a very sickly Dylan Larck, here to talk to you today about Auburn football as they get ready for their first SEC game of the season against Arkansas. Don't forget to also follow me on Twitter at YouBoyTheTank. Forgot to mention that. Again, I'm sick, so bear with me as I try to make it through this episode with my voice intact. So, as you know, pregame show rules, we always start with the 10 games of the season and then get into the preview of the game of the week, which is always going to be the Auburn game. No matter who they play, Auburn's the game of the week around here. Starting off with the first pick. I'm sorry. I'm trying to not cough in front of the mic because it's going to hurt as soon as the first one comes up. So just make sure to leave your predictions as we go down the list. I picked my games strictly opinionated picks. I have ESPN fantasy app that I always look at and make sure I'm not copying them completely because I think sometimes they choose weird games to use. But I like my games that I picked. So starting off, Friday night game at 7 o'clock p.m. CST, number 24, Illinois, traveling to Lincoln, Nebraska, take on the 22nd ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers. Nebraska is a 7.5-point favorite. I think that this is a game of two teams who are undefeated to a fault. Neither has really played that great of a team yet. Nebraska has played UTEP, Colorado, and Northern Iowa, and then Illinois has played Eastern Illinois, Kansas, who isn't all that good this year, and Central Michigan. I think Nebraska gets this win. I think home field advantage plays a massive part in this game. I think they probably take that spread too. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Nebraska in this one. And as you see, I'm 25-5 up there. I had a great week last week, 9-1 last week. So, take that with a grain of salt as I go through. All right, and if you were a betting man and you don't have a problem, stay away from this game right here, the second game that I'm going to talk about today. The Florida Gators will travel to Starkville, Mississippi, take on the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Florida is favored in this game. That tells you how bad Mississippi State is because Florida just got wiped by Texas A&M's backup quarterback last week. The Board of Trustees at Florida are already on their way collecting as much money as possible, trying to get Billy Napier out the door. And if you remember last week as well, Mississippi State got boat raced by Toledo. The MAC powerhouse took down SEC caliber opponent 41-17. I'm going with Florida in this one. No matter how bad Florida is this year, you're not 41-17 loss to Toledo bad. So I'll take Florida in this one. This is a straight up pick 'em for me. That could be a -1 for all I care. I would not touch this game if I had a gambling addiction. There's no way. This would stay clear of this game. So up next on the docket, Kansas, the Jayhawks, a very disappointing looking Jayhawks, take on the West Virginia Mountaineers, my family team, who've also been a little disappointing on the year, losing to Penn State after being close most of the game and fell off at the end, and then lost to Pitt in a very heartbreaking fashion. I think West Virginia gets to get back in this game. They're 2.5-point favorite. FPI is protecting them. I think West Virginia already has 2 losses. They got to start winning football games. If they want to be one of the last teams left in the Big 12, this is where it starts. You got to start winning these games. You've not lost a Big 12 game yet. Here's your opportunity to start off on the right track, and you got plenty of game left to get back into the race. So yeah, I'm going to rock with the Mountaineers in this one, and I'm going to take that spread. Kansas has been very disappointing to start off this year. Up next, this is probably one of, if it was not for Tennessee and Oklahoma, this would have been the game of the week for me. So USC, the number 11 USC Trojans, are going to travel to Ann Arbor to take on the number 18 Michigan Wolverines. USC looking to build off a very impressive win over Utah State last week, and of course their win over LSU in week 1. So Utah State, they had a bye week last week. And a bye week preparing for this game where Michigan is starting Alex Orji after finding out Davis Warren cannot throw the football to his own team after he is two touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Now Alex Orji is back, which means this team is going to be solely into running the ball, which USC, due to all their faults in the defense, actually can stuff the run a little bit. I'm going to take USC getting the win in the Big House, which is not a sentence I thought I would ever say after what I saw last year of Lincoln Riley's USC Trojans, but Michigan might be bad. And if not bad, might be very mid-level. They struggled against Arkansas State last week, if y'all were unaware of that. So yeah, I'm going to rock with the Trojans here to get this one, but I could be wrong with this one. This is one I'm very. The home field advantage could take a massive toll on me in this one, but I like USC in this one. Up next, ACC matchup: the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets are going to travel to Louisville, Kentucky, take on the Louisville Cardinals, number 19 team in the country. Louisville is a 10-point favorite, and if you are Louisville, this is a certifiable trap game and a half. I'm going to take Louisville, but I'm not taking those points. I think Georgia Tech gives them a run for their money. Georgia Tech, of course, lost very close to Syracuse, but I guess my factor here is Louisville's coming off a bye week. If they're not careful, Georgia Tech will sting them, pun intended. So, trap game, but I'm going to take Louisville in that one, but I'm going to take it close. I'm going to take it very close for that one. Up next, another game of the week contender. Number 12, Utah is traveling to Stillwater, Oklahoma, to take on the number 14, Oklahoma Sooners. Somehow, Oklahoma State Cowboys. Not Oklahoma Sooners. They're playing against Tennessee this week. Oklahoma State Cowboys, who are somehow a 2.5-point favorite. I have not been too impressed with Oklahoma State this year. I have not seen enough of Iowa to be completely confident in them, but they do have I don't want to say major win, but looking at this game comes down to the fact that Oklahoma State has yet to have gotten Ollie Gordon on the ground correctly. They have not been able to run the ball. Utah, on the other hand, incorporates the running game very well. They also have Cam Rising back this week. This is the oldest matchup of quarterbacks, a combined age of quarterbacks that I think there may have ever been, unless Chris Weinke, or however you say his name, back in 2000 or wherever he played in. I think it was 2000 when he was 27, 28 years old playing college football. If he played against someone, that might have been older, but 49 is a combined age of these two guys, 25 and 24, which is my age. And I'm working on getting 3 years out of college. Next year, actually 2 years out of college, if I'm not mistaken. 23, 24. No? Yeah, I'm working on being on my 3rd year out of college, which crazy. So yeah, old dudes playing quarterback in college football. I'm going to go with Utah on this one. I think Oklahoma State's on fraud alert. Really think they are, and I think this is where they get found out. SEC matchup. SEC versus SEC matchup. The Vanderbilt Commodores will travel to Columbia, Missouri to take on the Missouri Tigers. Missouri is a 20-point favorite. I do not like those points whatsoever, but I'm going to rock with Missouri in this one. But if they're not careful, Diego Pavia will do some damage to your defense. I have seen it firsthand. He has caused me many pain as of last year. So if if Missouri is not careful, Vanderbilt could make this a very close game until the end, especially after how Boston College played. I'm very high on Missouri. Missouri's going to be there at the end of the season, and they're going to be in the playoffs. I'm telling you, that's still my prediction for that. But Vanderbilt plays like they could be a big trap game for a lot of teams. I know they lost Georgia State last week, but they kind of gave that game away. So, yeah, be careful in this game. Missouri, be careful. I'm taking you, though. Next, a very ironically funny matchup, just in general. The 3-0 Cal Golden Bears will travel to Tallahassee, Florida, to take on the 0-3 Florida State Seminoles. Somehow, some way, Florida State's favored. Florida State is favored by 2.5. I am not going to trust that whatsoever. I have watched Florida State find ways to lose ball games week after week after week of the season. I do not trust that they can find one until they have at least a week to prepare. But even when they had a bye week, they still lost to Boston College or still lost to Memphis with a bye week. I am going with Cal to get the win in Doak Campbell Stadium to turn it to get the win on the road yet again against another team that should have more talent than them. But Cal might be good. Cal might be very good. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Cal might be very good. Auburn probably never stood a chance in the beginning. We're coming around to it. Why not? Auburn may have never been we'll just move on from it. Yeah, I'm taking Cal over Florida State this week. I'm making a living off of not picking Florida State to win. In my head canon, they're going to finish 0-12, which would be hilarious. So I'm taking Cal in that game. Up next, the game of the week. Number 6, Tennessee welcomes Oklahoma to the SEC. Tennessee somehow only a 7-point favorite as they travel to Norman, Oklahoma. I am going to take Tennessee in this game. No shocker there. I'm taking Tennessee plus the points. Definitely. I think Tennessee is going to cover that spread and more. Oklahoma has yet to find a way to run the ball. Jackson Arnold is currently their leading rusher. Hopefully you're getting some guys back for Oklahoma just to stand a chance, but I just don't like their odds in this game whatsoever. I think Tennessee might be legit. This is their way to prove it. This is their way to jump up in my power rankings. There are 5 right now, strictly because they ain't played nobody. We found out NC State's bad. They beat them up. Chattanooga is an FCS team. They beat them up. Kent State's a MAC team. They beat them up. Here's your chance. Beat up an SEC team, and I will probably jump you to top 3. Just saying. I bet you gotta beat them bad. You gotta beat them bad. So yeah, I'm taking Tennessee in that one, big time. Last game on the docket, Baylor travels to Boulder, Colorado, take on the Colorado Buffaloes. This game will be at 7:00 p.m. on Saturday. Colorado is a 1.5-point favorite, so this is a straight-up pick 'em. Baylor played close to Utah, and Utah is one of the teams that I expect to win the Big 12 championship. Utah got whooped by Nebraska, and I look at losses the same way I look at wins. I think Baylor's going to walk in to Boulder and get a win. I think that they're just a more complete team overall. I think they actually play as a team. I will never get over some of the things that Colorado players have been doing, especially Shedeur, especially the blaming your O-line for your loss to Nebraska and then bringing them in the next week was crazy. So yeah, I'm gonna take Baylor in this one, just cause it'd be funny. I'm on. It's a hate watch pick. I love Deion. I want Deion to succeed, but Shedeur is just so annoying. Shiloh is just so annoying. I want Travis Hunter to succeed because guess what? Travis Hunter is a projected top 3 pick, and guess who's projected to get a top 3 pick in the draft? My Panthers. I want Travis Hunter on the Panthers. But I don't think Colorado's a good team. I just don't. They have the ego of a Georgia with the record of a Vanderbilt. I don't know. I don't think Colorado's going to be that good of a team. I think Baylor's going to walk in, and I don't think they're going to beat the crap out of them or anything. But I definitely think Baylor's going to get the win here. Sorry for my little rant. I get annoyed by how the media portrays them sometimes. But yeah. Moving on. So that does it for my picks of the week. Let me know what you picked in the comment section below, and just kind of go through with me. Do you think Illinois is going to get the win over Nebraska? Do you think Mississippi State somehow rebounds after losing to Toledo? Let me know in the comment section below. So with that, going to go into a little bit of an ad read. And then after we get done with the little commercial, we'll come back and we'll start previewing Auburn versus Arkansas. So we'll be right back. Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your College Loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program. And of course, that's on thewarreport.com. Go to the shop. First page, Feelin' Loopy, or College Loop hat. Second page is, of course, the Feelin' Loopy t-shirt. So as you can tell by the screen on your screen, or the thumbnail on the screen right now, it is time for Auburn versus Arkansas in the preview. I keep doing that. I did it again. How did I do that again? I did not fix the camera. There we go. Fix the camera. Time for Auburn versus Arkansas SEC opener for, I believe, both teams, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, both teams, SEC opener. I know some teams, Georgia and Kentucky, played last week, so I got to make sure in my brain. Last week for both teams, saw very interesting games on both sides. Arkansas had a little bit of a struggle win over UAB, 37-27, and Auburn got a very solid win over New Mexico, 45-19, against the worst defense in college football. This game is interesting and will pave the way for both teams going throughout the remainder of the season. So, where to begin with this game? Well, just for starters, a little bit of history. Auburn leads the all-time record versus Arkansas 20-12-1. Auburn won last year 48-10. Games at 2:30 p.m. CST. Make sure to power stripe the stadium because we do that every week now. Auburn currently stands at a 3-point favorite in this game. Straight up pick 'em. So right now, Auburn and Arkansas both are 2-1. Offenses are Arkansas, on the other hand, it looks very good on paper. Pass offense, 328 yards per game, 12th in the NCAA, 3rd in the SEC. But only 3 passing touchdowns because they are running the crap out of the ball. 259 yards per game, 11th in the NCAA, 3rd in the SEC. Again, 15 rushing touchdowns. A lot of those coming from one Jaquindon Jackson, who has 6 of them. So Auburn has to have something very big planned to lock down Jaquindon Jackson. The 3-man front will not work in this game. I don't believe they're going to do that again. I believe they're already going to have to shift their focus on getting to the quarterback because Taylen Green is a menace if you let him be. Of course, he's had some iffy throws. He's more of a runner than he's a passer, or at least he's a better runner than he's a passer. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the year. Auburn is going to have to force him to make mistakes, which, I mean, against UAB, he made a few. He made a lot of iffy throws. You're going to see a lot of 12 personnel, a lot of tight end usage. They're going to try to run the ball as much as possible. Auburn's going to have to utilize all their big guys up front to get to the quarterback. But this also would fall on deaf ears if I did not say Taylen Green, though he does have some iffy throws. He's only like 50, I think, like a little over 50% completion percentage on the year. Auburn's secondary. Let me pull this up real quick. Auburn's secondary is currently giving up 242 yards per game. That is 99th in the NCAA. Rush defense, on the other hand, 97.3 yards per game, which is 32nd. 32nd in the NCAA is very good. 99th is terrible because there's only 134 teams. That means you're only better than about 40 teams in the NCAA. Taylen Green has some weapons. Andrew Armstrong is an absolute menace in one-on-one coverage. Auburn currently, I pull up the updated injuries and everything, if I can get that up on my phone real quick. So currently on the list for Auburn are Kayan Lee, Champ Anthony, and Antonio Kite are all on here. Kayan Lee and Champ Anthony probable to play, more likely will play. Antonio Kite on the questionable list, so do not know about that. It's going to fall on, Keontae Scott. It's going to fall on J.C. Hart, on Jalen Crawford, on Lane. All the young guys are going to have to get in this ball game if guys are not ready to go. So Auburn has to find a way. DJ Durkin and Charles Kelly have to find a way to adjust and flow early in this game to try to stop Arkansas's offense. They pass the ball pretty well. I mean, going into it, they have 328 yards per game through the air. Again, just absolute. Auburn will give up more if they are not prepared and if they wait too long to adjust. Going into this game, guys that I'm looking forward to watching for Auburn, the guys up front are going to be the main guys for you. You have to maintain Taylen Green in the pocket. You cannot let him leave the pocket. A lot of his great throws that he has made down the field are because he ran out of the pocket and found a guy down the field. Keldrick Falk is going to be the big guy here. He is currently leading the SEC in quarterback pressures with 14. He currently leads Auburn in sacks with 3. This is the game where Keldrick Falk needs to step up and get some more sacks. I think step up in just in this game, step up. He has stepped up this year. Don't get me wrong about that. And also going to this game, Jalen McLeod and Kieran Crawford. Combine those two for a second. One's a speed rusher, one's a power rusher. Those two have to get involved in the pass rush game too. We cannot be putting our pass rushers into coverage in this game. Let's just completely throw out a playbook. Let's not put Jalen McLeod on the outside to cover the slot receiver. Just grab that formation, just find it in the playbook, tear it out, and put it in the trash. Please. So, as I was saying, let's do it again. Jalen McLeod and Kieran Crawford need to be utilized extensively. They're going to be mainly containing Taylen Green in the pocket. And that's what you have to do. You have to force him to throw the ball. And it's going to be a double-edged sword. You either are going to get to the quarterback or your DBs are going to give up a big play. So you got to take what you can get. But if Auburn can lock down the run game, I think it gives Auburn a better chance of winning. Auburn's done a great job thus far of containing the rushing threat of a quarterback, but the passing one is another option. But Quinton Jackson, I talk about him for a second. He is an absolute monster of a human being. 47 carries, almost 400 yards, 397, 6 touchdowns on the year, 8.4 yards per carry. This running back is 6'2", 233 pounds. Used to be at Utah, used to play quarterback, but now he is an absolute menace for the Arkansas Razorbacks, who have a very good offensive line. He has had 150 yards in back-to-back games. Against Oklahoma State, he had 3 touchdowns. UAB had 1. UAPB, he had 2. Auburn has to prepare for Jaquindon Jackson. He is going to get a heavy dosage of the carries, as I said. So last game against UAB, he had 15 carries. Then against Oklahoma State, the P4 game, he had 24, which last week we saw Jarquez get 20 of those, 20 carries, and Damari got 10. The disparity between the running backs is pretty close in the sense of Taylen Green has 41 carries, but Jaquindon Jackson is going to get to bulk. After Jaquindon Jackson, the next guy is Rodney Hill with 11. So you're going to see a lot of Jaquindon Jackson. But Taylen Green will run the ball if you allow him to, which is going to be Auburn's main target, is to lock him in the pocket. You have to keep his legs out of the game if you want to win the ball game. You have to force him to make mistakes. He has 2 interceptions, 3 passing touchdowns. He wants to run the ball. He has 4 rushing touchdowns on the year. So linebackers, D linemen, the best part of Auburn's defense thus far. You're ranked highly in rush defense. As I said, 32nd, averaging 97.3 yards per game. You have to keep it at that. You cannot let them get any more than what you are allowing per game. Because if you do, Arkansas will just have a field day. But that comes with getting to the quarterback every single play. don't give anyone more than 2 seconds. Not even 2 seconds. Don't give him more than 1 second. Make him make those throws quickly. So, end of story for the defense. Offensively, all eyes are on Hank Brown this game. They were on him last game anyways, but this is a whole new territory for Hank Brown because of the fact this is an SEC matchup. This is his first career SEC start. There's going to be a lot of firsts for him in this game. So, Auburn has to be prepared for this defense that, for Arkansas, pass-wise, also struggling. Arkansas and Auburn share that a lot. They have a struggling secondary. Arkansas is giving up 228 yards per game, 86th in the NCAA in pass defense. Rush defense, on the other hand, they are 7th in the NCAA, giving up 61.7 yards per game, which is a good thing to put in your resume because of the fact that they have shut down Ollie Gordon. But as I said earlier, he's looked very disappointing this season. But ultimately, I mean, I just don't think they've played a back like Darqueze Hunter yet. I think that they'll give up more than that in this game. But Auburn cannot be fully put on the run game in this ball game. Yes, it'll be the bulk. Yes, it'll be the way Auburn can win this game the most if the run game is on fire. But Hank Brown's going to have to make a lot of key throws in this game. We don't know the status of Cam Coleman. As far as we know, he is just listed as questionable. You hope he can play because of the fact it's such a major game for how Auburn will look for the remainder of the season, but you don't want to lose him for the remainder of the season if he gets hurt again. And, of course, you're also losing Too Tall Miller as well. So you're hoping you can get them both back for this game, both ready to go, both healthy. But also an opportunity for Auburn to prove that wide receiver room is just as deep as we have been bragging about. Let Hank Brown show off a little bit, not too much. Get tight ends involved. Valdo Fairweather got himself a touchdown last week. Mike O'Reilly got himself a touchdown last week. Let's get the tight ends involved as much as possible. Keep it simple, but not too simple enough that it becomes predictable. You want to be able to get the ball down the field. Hank Brown made a lot of great throws down the field. He had a beautiful pass to Kendra Lambert-Smith. And he even talked about in his press conference this week that he knows what he did wrong against New Mexico. He knows that his decision-making was a little bit of a problem, not too much of a problem because he didn't throw any interceptions. But he did have some balls that could have been intercepted had it been to a better defense. And, of course, also paying attention to the clock. Clock management is a massive thing whenever you're a quarterback. You have to know how much time you have left in the game, in the half, in the quarter, and then what you need to do to save time. So I'm looking at Hank Brown to get ready for this game. He is my player to watch from the Auburn offense. And the Arkansas defense, Landon Jackson has had pretty much a very quiet season, if I'm not mistaken. I've not really heard too much of the preseason All-SEC defensive linemen. So it's very, very quiet start of the year. Doesn't even have a singular sack. 8 tackles in the year, but all it takes is one game to get that. And going through it, Arkansas has forced just as many interceptions as Auburn has, just as many turnovers as well, not forcing any fumbles either. So this game could come down to the turnover battle, which Auburn has been severely losing overall. Auburn currently having more than 2 turnovers per game, 2 in the first one, 5 in the second one, 2 in the first, or I guess 3 in the third one. So you're kind of running through a gauntlet of turnovers. But going into Arkansas, they've also lost a few turnovers. They're -2 in the turnover, but I mean that's not as bad as Auburn. As bad as -2 is, not as bad as Auburn. So getting into this, major categories for Auburn to win this game is going to be keeping the pocket clean for Hank Brown to make throws. Don't turn over the football. For the love, everything that is holy in this world, just give me one game that Auburn does not turn over the ball at all. And then after this game, don't do it ever again. Just keep do what you did this game all over again. Just don't ever turn over the ball. You've already turned it over too much. I'm pulling up the team stats just so I can say what Auburn's ratio is. -7. -7 turnover ratio. That cannot happen if you want to win games in the SEC. You can get you away with some games, but The rest of them, most of them, absolutely not. So, offensively, don't turn over the ball. Let Hank Brown cook. Don't let him get sacked. Keep the pocket clean and open up holes in the run game. Auburn's going to have their best game of the year in this game. You're taking on the SEC. You already have a loss on the year. So if you want to reach your goals of the year, if you want to get that 8-4 record, that I predicted, I want to be right about it. You have to win this ball game and go into next week against Oklahoma with the 3-1 record and get ready to walk out of there with a 4-1 record. That way I'd be on pace to be right. And you're on a hot streak getting into the Georgia game. So score predictions for this game. I think you're looking at two potential options of this game. This is either going to be a defensive matchup where neither team can run the ball, and it comes down to one team just making a play down the field on both teams' terrible secondaries. So on one hand, I think if it becomes a skirmish like that, you're looking at whoever can get to like 24 first. There's also the opportunity that this game could be an absolute shootout. The first team to hit like 35, 38 wins the game. I think Auburn gets it done. Jordan-Hare Stadium gives me a lot of hope. I think Auburn gets the win. I'm going to say 31-27. 31-27 is my prediction. I think it's going to be a little iffy. I think it's going to take Auburn down to the wire. Auburn's going to have to make some key stops. You have to lock down Taylen Green. A lot of things have to get done in this game. Right now, 31-27 is where I stand. But I see Auburn start winning some games in the SEC. It happened a little bit last year. Not enough for me to be too stoked about how last year happened. But this is where you get right. This is where you start showing proof of concept. You got a lot of recruits coming in for this game. And, Auburn fans have a stigma with Arkansas. We don't like to lose to Arkansas because I'll bring it back to Gus Malzahn. Gus Malzahn he lost Arkansas, I think, once, ever, when he was Auburn's head coach. So Auburn doesn't like to lose to Arkansas. Let's get right. Let's start the streak. Let's get the streak to 2. Moving on to the future of Auburn versus Arkansas. So that does it for this segment of the College Loop Podcast. I'm of course Dylan Larck. I have Woodhang on Twitter, also Dylan Larck on Instagram as well. Go check me out on there as well again. Also, we're right here on the College Loop Podcast. Would you like, comment, subscribe? We are getting so very close to 900 subscribers right here on YouTube. We're 889 as I'm recording this. 11 away from 900, 111 away from 1,000. Of course, also check us out on social media as well on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, whichever one you want to call it. The works all at the College Loop, and of course the audio version of the show as well on words are hard. Sorry, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and of course Spotify. I don't know why I said it like that, but I did. So there you go. But, of course, leave your prediction for Auburn, Arkansas in the comment section below. And with all of that being said, this has been the College Loop Podcast. And, as always, War Eagle.